Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So if you haven't seen it, Noam Chomsky is trending in the news again. It's over an interview he did recently about vaccine mandates and the unvaccinated. He had a bit of a take that some people are, honestly, to me it just seems like it's a misunderstanding. But I mean, he is Noam Chomsky. People will take anything he says and try and flip it on him just because he's Noam Chomsky. If you're not familiar with what happened, the little snippet that's floating around of this interview was about him being asked about vaccination mandates. And of course, he, in proper fashion, says, mandates are kind of an issue, like doing anything by force is the issue. But for people who are unvaccinated, they should have the common decency to isolate themselves. Because, yes, you have your freedoms, but you don't have the freedom to harm other people. The other bit of what he said that I think has got the biggest reaction out of it was when he was asked about what to do with the people who are isolated, like getting them food and supplies and things like that. And he straight up gives them the Raimi memes response, and I I don't see how that's my problem. And he does. He says that's their problem. They need to figure that out. Which I feel a certain kind of way about. If there are, if there's government assistance programs in place, I've talked about this before with the unemployment benefits with the nurses in New York. If you have systems in place for your citizenry, they should get access to it. Your political leanings, your choices on medical procedures and things like that, unless the law is written about, with those kind of limitations in mind, you can't just change the law on a whim because people are doing something you don't agree with. We're all still in the same country. We all still should fall under the same law. So if you got assistance programs for people, they should get access to them. But we don't have any kind of access programs or assistance programs for people who just want to stay home because they don't want to get a shot. So that's kind of irrelevant, to be honest. Something I think is really one of the bits of commentary I saw from it was from Jimmy Dore, of all people, but said that Chomsky wants an authoritarian government to force people to stay home. And that's the point that I was getting at with the whole, this seems like it's just a misunderstanding. Chomsky is not suggesting that the government do this with people staying at home and isolating themselves for not being vaccinated. People should just be willing to do that because it's a understanding that we're all kind of in this together, and that if you're refusing a vaccine, then it's possible, you're a danger to people around you. So you should be willing to stay at home until you can get your vaccination. The government shouldn't force you to do that, but you as a person should know that you have an obligation to sort of protect the people around you. I don't expect people in America, honestly, to fall under that. We've built a culture in this country of this sort of like self-reliant everyman who's supposed to be able to be knowledgeable in all these different fields, this whole do your own research thing, which again, I'm not gonna I would never tell somebody to not look up something themselves if you want, but you don't need to be an expert on everything. It's okay to default to someone who knows more than you. By all means, if you want to check on something, fine, but you don't need to be an expert on everything, and it's fine to accept advice from people who are in positions of authority. If it's... Not everybody's supposed to be a doctor. If everybody was a doctor, we wouldn't have anybody to work on the roads. You know, so... At the end of it all, though, just get your vaccinations. Just take your shots. If you're afraid of needles, just deal with it for a little bit and get it over with. Because the longer we hold out on this, the longer this is just going to keep up, and who knows what'll happen.